Calculating measurements for an ordinary petticoat. An ordinary petticoat is a light, loose undergarment hanging from the shoulders, worn by children under their dresses or school uniforms. The length of an ordinary petticoat will be from shoulder to the knee. The gathered skirt part gives plenty of room for movement and support the design shape of the outer dress like uniform. Cotton or poplin are the most comfortable fabrics for making petticoats. At the end of the session, you will be able to identify the various parts of ordinary petticoat, identify the body measurements required for making an ordinary petticoat, make the required calculations for making an ordinary petticoat. An ordinary petticoat is made from a single piece of cotton fabric, mostly white in color. It has armholes, neckline, and a pleated or gathered skirt starting from waist to knee length. The body measurements required for making an ordinary petticoat are full length, front length, and chest circumference. Here, we have the full length as 26 inches, front length as 11.5 inches, and chest circumference as 24 inches. We need to add seam allowances and wearing ease to the body measurement and make some calculations for drafting purpose. The front length needs to have 1/4 inch seam allowance added to the shoulder seam and 1/2 inch for the waistline seam where the bodice and the skirt part join. So, the total front length becomes 11.5 inch plus 1/4 inch plus 1/2 inch, which is equal to 12.25 inch. We need to add 1 inch of wearing ease and 1/2 inch seam allowance for the side seam to 1/4 of the chest circumference. So, the 1/4 of the chest of 6 inch including the seam allowance becomes 7.5 inches. The length of the skirt is derived from subtracting the front length from the full length, that is 26 inches minus 11.5 inches, which gives the skirt length as 14.5 inches. This is the length of the finished skirt. But we need to add 1/2 inch seam allowance for the waistline seam and 2 inch for the bottom hem. So, the total skirt length becomes 17 inches. To find out the skirt width, we need to multiply 1/4 of the chest including seam allowance and wearing ease, which we calculated earlier as 7.5 inches, and this need to be multiplied 3 or 4 times depending on how much gathers we need. Here, we are multiplying 4 times 7.5 inches to get the total skirt width as 30 inches. In this session, we have identified the various parts of an ordinary petticoat, standard body measurements required for making an ordinary petticoat, and made few calculations for drafting purpose. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key points. An ordinary petticoat is made from a single piece of cotton fabric, mostly white in color. It has armholes, neckline, and a pleated or gathered skirt starting from waist to the knee length. The body measurements for making an ordinary petticoat include full length, front length, and chest circumference. We need to add seam allowances and wearing ease to the body measurements and make some calculations for drafting purpose. With that, we have come to the end of the session.